Hi friends, Concy here from atop Serenity Hill. There I am. And today is day one of my challenge that I do with Shemi Dixon called Start with a Mark. This is our third year. This is the first year I'm actually doing it on Instagram and on YouTube. And so this is the printable, the first page of the printable that I have for you. It is available below if this is new to you. It's 14 days. Starting on February 1st through February 14th. That was intentional so that you would have the opportunity to fall back in love. Get it? Love, February, Valentine's Day, with your creative practice. And so we wanted to encourage you to literally start with a mark. So the prompts are all to be super simple if you want them, or as complicated and as intricate as you want to take them. So because I'm doing the challenge on both Instagram and YouTube, I have printables for you. One is this, it comes, the rest of the pages of this is this deck, so that it's a tag deck that I created. I printed it on sticker paper and then put it on black cardstock so that it was a little bit thicker, but each one for the prompts, each tag has its own prompt at the top, so you know. And then there's a couple blank ones if you prefer blank or want to put blank ones in between and do something else or expand on the prompts. And then there's two tags that have all the prompts on it, so you have them handy for yourself. And then below you will find a live video where I made this little one-page wonder, which is what I'm going to work in for the YouTube video. I'm going to show you what I did for Dot in a second, but I made this little fold out cardstock, one-page wonder folio thingamabobby, and it has 14 different places for you to do something with each prompt if you wanted to keep it really simple and in one little journal when you're all done. So I'm going to work in this here on YouTube. The tags are what I'm going to work on Instagram. So if you want to follow along with both, subscribe here, go over there, follow me there, and the links for Instagram are below. Okay, so for Dot, I literally started with that dot. And then I grew a mandala using a Sharpie pen for the dot prompt. And it is comprised of a lot of dots and circles. So you can keep it as simple. Literally, if you wanted to come to this and draw a dot in the center, done. Thumbs up. You have created something and done your creative practice for the challenge and for the day. It really can be that simple. All right, so for today's dot challenge, I'm going to put this off to the side. When I created this, I actually made, a little closure with two circles. One is flat and the other one is folded. I cannot show you this really well, but if you look at the live, you'll see. And the other one is folded in half just to create some bulk so that I had a way to close it. And I thought, well, there's a big old dot. Let's start with that. So what I'm going to use today, so this will be my page, my section of this little journal for the dot. I am going to do something that I taught recently in a in-person class, which was to put gesso down on white cardstock through a stencil and then put watercolor on top of it. So I found this delightful dot stencil, and it looks like punchinella, which I find funny, which is, what's left over from, I'm just getting out some white gesso, what's left over from sequins, and people buy it as a roll of ribbon or decorative elements. And so I thought, well, that's a bunch of dots. So I'm going to take my white gesso and make a sponge, and I'm going to put white gesso through the stencil all over this page. I'm even going over my giant dot closure. And maybe I'll even go off the edges a little bit. Why not? We'll see what happens. All right, so I've got gesso down, and you can see that, my stencil was not clean. My stencils are never clean, people. And so you can see it a little bit. It's easier for you to see. If your stencils are clean, that might not happen. So I'm going to dry it, and then I'm going to grab my watercolors. Okay, so it's all dry. The gesso is now dry. And I'm going to pick up some metallics. I don't use, as you can see, I use this side a ton, but not this side. So I'm trying to be fair to all my watercolors. But you can see right away how the watercolor repels the, and I'm going to use neons and everything. I'm using all. Repels the paint. And that's really fun. And so now my dots that I made in the background are showing up. So that's a great way for you to put some texture and interest into a background, is to go in with some gesso. I mean, if you've ever put gesso on a page, a lot of people in junk and art journaling like to prep a page with gesso, and everything reacts to it, you know, in its own way. And so it's kind of a fun experiment to see what happens. All right. And so some parts, if I didn't have a lot of gesso, didn't pick up, and the parts where the gesso was really thick picked up, you know, repelled it even better. And that's super fun. All right, so let's dry this. All right, so this is dry. And what I'm really trying to do is just add some layers. So I'm using the prompt dot, and I want to see what else can I add to this. So I've got a hand-carved stamp. Let me grab a piece of paper, because I always like to go off the edge when I stamp. And I guess this ink pad is an older ink pad, and that's okay. I don't necessarily need it to be super dotty. Haha. But I do want it to go off the edge. I love that look because I feel like you're making it from a bigger piece. Okay, so then I've got another layer of dots. Let's pull this out. Fun. And if I close this, nice. All right, so I've got that dot. So then my next thought was paint markers. What if I added some paint markers? So I'm going to grab some colors that I have used. The yellow, maybe not the green, maybe blue, maybe some colors I haven't used. And just add dots. So it's not necessarily that I want to make, you know, an art journal page or a junk journal page. There's possible that, you know, I want this little journal to be an exploration and to see what comes up, you know, what kind of ideas I have for each of the prompts. Some of them might be drawings or doodles, and some of them, you know, might be just backgrounds for something. I really have no idea. I just want to play and be curious this month about what a prompt means, what it inspires, what shows up. This is what, you know, was in my head when I thought of the word dot. One was the mandala you saw, and then two was, you know, I use a lot. I just did this gesso background with a stencil, so let's try that. You know, I have this stamp. I love this stamp. I use it a ton. Let's see what that happens. And then I love my paint pens. Who doesn't love their paint pens? The Posca paint pens. And what does that do? And now I'm thinking, This is a white jelly roll. Oops. What if I dot? These are not all dry, so that's the reason this is not working fabulously. Let me dry the paint pen. Dry paint pens. All right, so I've added some more dots. So I've got a bunch of layers of dots. And to me, it's a lovely background. I don't necessarily need to add anything else. I know that this is the inside of this. So, you know, like it's going to get covered. So what if I just added like a quote maybe and call it good? So I've got my Tim Holtz tiny quotes, tiny quotes. It's called Small Talk. Huh. And maybe something in black since this is very light. And this, hilarious. A party without cake is just a meeting. And what I like about, what makes me think about that is this looks like it could be confetti or it could be, you know, icing on a cake or sprinkles. So that is what makes it work. So where does the background take you? Where does the next level? So the prompt was dot. It made me start thinking about my supplies, how to layer different versions of dots. I went all the way through to my white Signo, not Signo, but my jelly roll. And then it felt like maybe I need to add some words. If you know me, I add words to everything. So where does the quote? And then the dots, the way it looks, the colors, all of that inspired me picking this quote, which is a party without cake is just a meeting, because it makes me think of sprinkles and icing and confetti and, you know, all those fun things that you would have at a party. So see where a prompt takes you. Let your mind kind of play on it and expand out on it and see where it goes. All right, day 1, dot. I'll see you back here tomorrow for day 2.